It was a cold, rainy evening, and the streets were nearly empty. A young man, let's call him Raj, was walking home after a long day at work. He was tired, his mind wandering, and he barely noticed the sound of the rain hitting the pavement. Raj had always been a careful person, but that night, he was distracted. He was thinking about his family, his job, and the struggles he had been facing lately. Life hadn't been easy for him, and it felt like the weight of the world was on his shoulders. As he crossed a narrow bridge over a fast-flowing river, something unexpected happened. The railing on the bridge was old and rusty, and as Raj leaned against it for a moment, it gave way. Before he knew it, he was falling. The icy water below rushed up to meet him, and the shock of the cold took his breath away. Raj wasn't a strong swimmer, and the current was powerful. He struggled to keep his head above water, but the river was relentless. He felt himself being pulled under, and panic set in. He thought this was the end. But then, out of nowhere, he felt a strong hand grab his arm. Someone had jumped into the river after him. Raj couldn't see much in the darkness, but he could feel the stranger pulling him toward the shore. The water was freezing, and the current was strong, but the stranger didn't let go. With all his strength, the stranger managed to drag Raj to the riverbank. By the time they reached the shore, Raj was exhausted and coughing up water. He collapsed on the ground, shivering and gasping for air. When Raj finally looked up, he saw a man standing over him. The stranger was drenched, his clothes clinging to his body, and he was breathing heavily. Raj tried to speak, to thank him, but the man simply shook his head. "You're safe now," he said in a calm voice. "Just take it easy." Before Raj could say anything else, the stranger turned and walked away, disappearing into the night. Raj never got the man's name. He didn't even get a good look at his face. All he remembered was the sound of his voice and the feeling of his hand pulling him to safety. That night changed Raj's life. He couldn't stop thinking about the stranger who had risked his own life to save him. Who was he? Why did he leave so quickly? Raj knew he owed his life to this man, and he was determined to find him one day. But life had a way of moving forward, and Raj's search for the stranger was put on hold. He had responsibilities, work, family, and bills to pay. Years passed, and Raj often thought about that night, but he never had the time or resources to look for the man who had saved him. Still, the memory stayed with him, like a puzzle he couldn't solve. One day, Raj's life took an unexpected turn. He was offered a new job in a different city, one that would give him a fresh start. He decided to take it, hoping it would be the change he needed. Little did he know, this move would bring him closer to the answers he had been searching for. In the new city, Raj found himself thinking more and more about the stranger. He wondered if he would ever get the chance to thank him. He didn't even know if the man was still alive, but he felt a strong pull to try and find him. Raj started asking around, telling his story to anyone who would listen. He described the bridge, the river, and the night he was saved. People listened, but no one had any information. It seemed like a hopeless search, but Raj didn't give up. Then, one day, something incredible happened. Raj was at a local cafe, sipping on a cup of tea, when he overheard a conversation at the next table. Two men were talking about a heroic rescue that had happened years ago. Raj's ears perked up. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. The men were describing a night very similar to his own experience. One of them mentioned a bridge and a river, and how a stranger had saved someone from drowning. Raj's heart raced. He turned to the men and introduced himself. "Excuse me," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. Did you say something about a rescue at a bridge?" The men looked at him, surprised, but they nodded. One of them said, "Yes, it happened a long time ago. A man saved someone from drowning in the river. It was a brave thing to do." Raj felt a surge of hope. "Do you know who that man was?" he asked. The men shook their heads. No, we don't know his name, one of them said. But we heard he lives in this city now. He's a quiet man, keeps to himself. No one really knows much about him. Raj's mind was spinning. Could this be the same man who had saved him all those years ago? He had to find out. He thanked the men and left the cafe, determined to continue his search. For the first time in years, he felt like he was getting closer to the truth. Over the next few weeks, Raj asked everyone he met about the mysterious stranger. He visited local shops, talked to neighbors, and even put up posters with a description of the man. It was a long shot, but Raj didn't care. He had to find him. Then, one evening, Raj received a phone call. It was from an older woman who had seen one of his posters. I think I know the man you're looking for, she said. He lives in a small house on the edge of town. He's a kind man, but he doesn't like to talk about the past. Raj's heart skipped a beat. Could this finally be the moment he had been waiting for? He thanked the woman and wrote down the address. The next day, he set out to find the house. His hands were shaking as he knocked on the door. He didn't know what to expect, but he knew he had to see this through. The door opened, and there he was, the man who had saved Raj's life all those years ago. He looked older, his hair grayer, but Raj recognized him immediately. For a moment, they just stood there, staring at each other. Then Raj spoke, his voice trembling with emotion. It's you, he said. You're the one who saved me. The man looked at Raj, his eyes filled with surprise. I didn't think I'd ever see you again, he said quietly. Raj felt tears welling up in his eyes. I've been looking for you for years, he said. I just wanted to say thank you. You saved my life. The man smiled, a small, humble smile. I'm glad you're okay, he said. That's all that matters. Raj couldn't hold back his emotions any longer. He reached out and hugged the man, feeling a sense of gratitude and relief he had never known before. In that moment, Raj realized how much this stranger had changed his life. He had given him a second chance, and Raj knew he would never forget it. As they sat down to talk, Raj learned more about the man, his life, his struggles, and why he had chosen to walk away that night. It was a story of humility, kindness, and the power of human connection. Raj knew that finding this man was more than just a chance to say thank you. It was a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there are people who care, people who are willing to risk everything to help a stranger. And for Raj, that was a lesson he would carry with him for the rest of his life. As Raj sat in the small, cozy living room of the man who had saved his life, he felt a mix of emotions, gratitude, curiosity, and even a little nervousness. The man, who we'll call Arjun, offered him a cup of tea, and Raj accepted it with a smile. The room was simple but warm, with a few photographs on the walls and a bookshelf filled with old, well-loved books. It was clear that Arjun lived a quiet, humble life. Raj took a deep breath and began to speak. I've thought about that night so many times, he said. I always wondered who you were and why you left so quickly. I wanted to thank you, but I never got the chance. Arjun nodded slowly, his eyes distant, as if he was remembering that night too. I didn't think it was a big deal, he said quietly. I just did what anyone would have done. But Raj shook his head. No, it wasn't just anyone. You risked your life to save me. I could have died that night if it weren't for you. I'll never forget that. Arjun looked down at his hands, as if he wasn't used to being thanked. I'm just glad you're okay, he said. That's all that matters. As they talked, Raj learned more about Arjun's life. He was a retired teacher who had spent most of his life in small villages, teaching children who had very little. He had never married or had children of his own, but he spoke fondly of his students, many of whom he still kept in touch with. Arjun's life had been simple, but it was clear that he had made a difference in the lives of many people. Raj couldn't help but feel inspired by Arjun's story. Here was a man who had dedicated his life to helping others, yet he never sought recognition or praise. He had saved Raj's life without expecting anything in return, and he had quietly gone on living his life, never mentioning what he had done. As the hours passed, Raj and Arjun talked about everything: life, family, work, and the struggles they had both faced. Raj shared his own story, telling Arjun about the challenges he had been through and how that night on the bridge had changed him. "I've always felt like I owed you something," Raj said. "Not just my life, but also the way it made me see the world. I realized how precious life is, and how important it is to help others when you can." Arjun listened quietly, his eyes kind and understanding. "You don't owe me anything," he said. "But if you want to do something, help someone else. That's the best way to say thank you." Raj nodded, feeling a sense of clarity he hadn't felt in a long time. He knew that Arjun was right. He couldn't change the past, but he could make a difference in the future. He decided then and there that he would find a way to give back, to help others the way Arjun had helped him. Before Raj left, he asked Arjun one more question. "Why did you leave that night? Why didn't you stay so I could thank you?" Arjun smiled softly. "I didn't think you needed to thank me," he said. "I just wanted to make sure you were safe. Sometimes, the best way to help someone is to let them move on without feeling like they owe you something." Raj thought about those words as he walked home that evening. They stayed with him, echoing in his mind. He realized that Arjun's kindness wasn't just about saving his life, it was about the way he had done it, without expecting anything in return. It was a lesson in humility and selflessness that Raj knew he would carry with him forever. Over the next few weeks, Raj started to make changes in his life. He volunteered at a local shelter, helping people who were struggling just like he had been. He also started a small community project, teaching basic skills to young people who couldn't afford formal education. It wasn't much, but it was a start, and it felt good to give back. Raj also kept in touch with Arjun, visiting him whenever he could. The two men became friends, sharing stories and laughter over cups of tea. Raj learned more about Arjun's life and the challenges he had faced, and he was amazed by the man's resilience and kindness. Arjun had lived through difficult times, but he had never lost his faith in people or his desire to help others. One day, Raj asked Arjun if he had ever regretted not having a family of his own. Arjun thought for a moment before answering. "I used to wonder what my life would have been like if I had married and had children," he said. "But I don't have any regrets. My students were like my children, and I'm proud of what they've become. I've had a good life, and I'm grateful for that." Raj nodded, feeling a deep respect for Arjun. He realized that happiness wasn't about having everything, it was about finding meaning in what you did and making a difference in the lives of others. Arjun had done that, and Raj wanted to do the same. As time went on, Raj's life began to change in ways he hadn't expected. His work at the shelter led to new opportunities, and he found himself more fulfilled than he had ever been. He also started to rebuild his relationships with his family, realizing how important they were to him. He felt like he was finally living the life he was meant to live, and he knew that he owed it all to Arjun. One evening, as Raj sat with Arjun in his small living room, he decided to share something he had been thinking about for a long time. "I want to tell your story," he said. "Not just about how you saved me, but about your life and the work you've done. I think people need to hear it. They need to know that there are still good people in the world, people like you." Arjun looked surprised, but he didn't say no. "If you think it will help someone, then go ahead," he said. "But don't make it about me. Make it about the importance of helping others, even when it's hard." Raj agreed, and he began to write Arjun's story. He shared it with his friends, his community, and eventually, it reached a wider audience. People were inspired by Arjun's selflessness and the way he had lived his life. Many reached out to Raj, sharing their own stories of kindness and gratitude. Raj realized that Arjun's story wasn't just about one man, it was about the power of human connection and the difference one person could make. It was a reminder that even in a world that often felt cold and uncaring, there was still hope, still kindness, still love. As Raj continued to write and share Arjun's story, he felt a sense of purpose he had never known before. He knew that he was honoring the man who had saved his life, but he was also honoring the values that Arjun had taught him: kindness, humility, and the importance of giving back. And as he looked back on his journey, from that cold, rainy night on the bridge to the warm, quiet evenings in Arjun's living room, Raj knew that he had found something precious. He had found not just the man who had saved his life, but also a deeper understanding of what it meant to truly live. And for that, he would always be grateful. As Raj continued to share Arjun's story, something remarkable began to happen. People from all walks of life started reaching out to him, sharing their own experiences of kindness and gratitude. It was as if Arjun's story had opened a door, reminding people of the good that still existed in the world. Raj was overwhelmed by the response, but he was also inspired. He realized that Arjun's story wasn't just about one man, it was about the power of human connection and the ripple effect of kindness. One day, Raj received a letter from a young woman named Priya. She had read Arjun's story and wanted to share her own. Priya had been going through a difficult time in her life, feeling lost and alone. But after reading about Arjun, she decided to volunteer at a local orphanage. She wrote, "Your story reminded me that even small acts of kindness can make a big difference. I may not be able to change the world, but I can change someone's day, and that's enough." Raj was deeply moved by Priya's letter. He realized that Arjun's story was touching lives in ways he had never imagined. It wasn't just about the past, it was about the future, about inspiring others to be kind and compassionate. Raj decided to compile these stories into a book, a collection of real-life experiences that celebrated the power of human kindness. As he worked on the book, Raj spent more time with Arjun, learning about his life and the lessons he had learned along the way. Arjun was hesitant at first, not used to being in the spotlight, but he eventually agreed to share his story. He told Raj about his childhood in a small village, where his parents had taught him the importance of helping others. He spoke about his years as a teacher, and how he had tried to instill those same values in his students. One story in particular stood out to Raj. Arjun told him about a young boy named Ravi, who had been one of his students many years ago. Ravi had come from a very poor family, and he often went to school hungry. Arjun noticed this and started bringing extra food for Ravi, making sure he had enough to eat. Over time, Ravi began to thrive, not just academically, but also emotionally. Years later, Ravi had gone on to become a successful engineer, and he had never forgotten Arjun's kindness. "That's what life is all about," Arjun said. "It's not about how much you have, but what you do with what you have. If you can help even one person, you've made a difference." Raj was struck by the simplicity and truth of Arjun's words. He realized that Arjun's life was a testament to the power of small, consistent acts of kindness. It wasn't about grand gestures or fame, it was about showing up, day after day, and doing what you could to make the world a little better. As the book took shape, Raj decided to include not just Arjun's story, but also the stories of the people who had been inspired by it. He wanted to show how one act of kindness could create a chain reaction, touching lives in ways that were often unseen. He titled the book The Ripple Effect, and when it was finally published, it quickly gained attention. People from all over the country began reading The Ripple Effect, and many were moved by the stories it contained. Schools and community groups started using the book as a tool to teach kindness and empathy, and Raj was invited to speak at events and conferences. He was amazed by the impact the book was having, but he always made sure to give credit where it was due. "This isn't my story," he would say. "It's Arjun's story, and the stories of all the people who have been inspired by him." Arjun, for his part, remained humble. He was proud of the book and the impact it was having, but he never sought recognition for himself. He continued to live his quiet, simple life, content in the knowledge that he had made a difference. One day, Raj received an invitation that would change everything. A well-known television show wanted to feature the ripple effect and the story behind it. They wanted to interview both Raj and Arjun, and share their story with a national audience. Raj was excited but also nervous. He knew that this was a huge opportunity, but he also knew that Arjun might not be comfortable with the attention. When Raj approached Arjun with the idea, he was surprised by his response. "If it will help spread the message of kindness, then I'll do it," Arjun said. "But I don't want it to be about me. It's about the message, not the messenger." Raj agreed, and together, they prepared for the interview. On the day of the show, Raj and Arjun sat side by side, sharing their story with the host and the audience. Arjun spoke quietly but powerfully, his words resonating with everyone who listened. He talked about the importance of kindness, not just in big moments, but in everyday life. "You don't have to save someone's life to make a difference," he said. "Sometimes, it's the small things, a smile, a kind word, a helping hand, that can change someone's day, or even their life." The audience was captivated by Arjun's words, and the response was overwhelming. People from all over the country reached out, sharing their own stories of kindness and gratitude. The show's host later told Raj that it was one of the most powerful interviews they had ever done. After the show, Raj and Arjun returned home, exhausted but fulfilled. They had shared their story with the world, and it had touched countless lives. But for Raj, the most important thing was the bond he had formed with Arjun. What had started as a search for the man who had saved his life had turned into a deep, meaningful friendship. As they sat together that evening, sipping tea and reflecting on the day, Raj felt a sense of peace he hadn't felt in a long time. He knew that he had found not just the man who had saved his life, but also a mentor, a friend, and a source of inspiration. And as he looked at Arjun, sitting quietly in his chair, Raj realized that the true power of Arjun's story wasn't just in the past, it was in the future, in the lives that would be touched by his message of kindness. It was a reminder that even in a world that often felt divided, there was still hope, still goodness, still love. And for Raj, that was the greatest gift of all. After the television interview, life changed for both Raj and Arjun, but in different ways. Raj found himself busier than ever, fielding requests for interviews, speaking engagements, and even book signings. The ripple effect had struck a chord with people, and its message of kindness and compassion was spreading far and wide. Raj was grateful for the opportunity to share Arjun's story, but he also felt a responsibility to stay true to the values that had inspired him in the first place. Arjun, on the other hand, remained as humble and grounded as ever. He appreciated the attention the book and the interview had brought, but he didn't let it change him. He continued to live his quiet life, spending his days reading, tending to his small garden, and occasionally visiting the local school to talk to the children. To him, the fame was fleeting, but the message was eternal. One day, Raj received a letter that would take the story to a whole new level. It was from a man named Vikram, who lived in a distant city. Vikram had read the ripple effect and watched the television interview, and he believed he had a story that needed to be told. He wrote, "Your book reminded me of something that happened many years ago, something I've never forgotten. I think it's time I shared it." Intrigued, Raj reached out to Vikram, and they arranged to meet. When they did, Vikram told him a story that left Raj speechless. Many years ago, Vikram had been in a dark place. He had lost his job, his marriage had fallen apart, and he felt like he had nothing left to live for. One night, he decided to end his life. He went to a bridge, much like the one where Raj had almost drowned, and stood there, ready to jump. But before he could, a stranger approached him. It was an older man, with kind eyes and a calm voice. The man didn't try to stop Vikram or give him a lecture. Instead, he simply stood beside him and started talking. He told Vikram about his own struggles, about the times he had felt lost and alone. He spoke about the importance of hope, even in the darkest moments. And then, he said something that Vikram would never forget: life is like a river. Sometimes it's calm, and sometimes it's rough. But no matter how rough it gets, it always keeps moving. And so can you. Those words struck a chord with Vikram. He didn't jump that night. Instead, he went home and started to rebuild his life. It wasn't easy, but he never forgot the stranger who had saved him. He didn't know the man's name, and he never saw him again, but he always wondered who he was. When Vikram read The Ripple Effect and saw Arjun's interview, he felt a jolt of recognition. The man on the screen looked just like the stranger who had saved him all those years ago. He wasn't sure if it was the same person, but he knew he had to find out. Raj listened to Vikram's story with a mix of awe and disbelief. Could it be that Arjun had saved not just one life, but two? He knew he had to find out. He arranged for Vikram to meet Arjun, and the three of them sat down together one evening. When Vikram walked into Arjun's small living room, he felt a wave of emotion. He looked at Arjun, studying his face, and then he said, "It's you. You're the man who saved me that night on the bridge." Arjun looked at Vikram, his eyes filled with surprise and recognition. "I remember that night," he said quietly. "I'm glad you're okay." Vikram's eyes filled with tears. "You saved my life," he said. "I've always wanted to thank you, but I never knew how to find you." Arjun smiled gently. "You don't need to thank me," he said. "I'm just glad you're here." As the three men talked, Raj realized that Arjun's impact went far beyond what he had ever imagined. It wasn't just about the lives he had saved, it was about the lives he had touched, the hope he had given, and the kindness he had shown. Arjun's story was a reminder that even the smallest acts of compassion could have a profound impact. Vikram's story became a new chapter in The Ripple Effect, and it inspired even more people to share their own experiences. Raj began to receive letters and emails from all over the world, each one a testament to the power of kindness. People wrote about the times they had been helped by strangers, or the moments they had reached out to help someone else. Each story was different, but they all shared a common thread, the belief that even in a world that often felt cold and uncaring, there was still goodness. As the book continued to gain attention, Raj and Arjun were invited to speak at events and conferences. They traveled to different cities, sharing their story and inspiring others to be kind. But no matter where they went, Arjun remained the same, humble, kind, and always focused on the message rather than the fame. One evening, after a particularly long day of travel, Raj and Arjun sat together in a quiet hotel room. Raj looked at Arjun and said, "I don't think you realize how much you've changed the world." Arjun smiled. "I haven't changed the world," he said. "I've just tried to do my part." The world changes when we all do our part. Raj thought about those words for a long time. He realized that Arjun was right. It wasn't about one person doing something extraordinary, it was about everyone doing something small, something kind. It was about the ripple effect. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, Raj continued to share Arjun's story, but he also began to focus on his own journey. He realized that he had been given a second chance, not just by Arjun, but by life itself. He wanted to make the most of it, to live with purpose and kindness. And as he looked at Arjun, sitting quietly beside him, Raj felt a deep sense of gratitude. He had found not just the man who had saved his life, but also a mentor, a friend, and a source of inspiration. He knew that Arjun's story would continue to touch lives, long after they were gone. And for Raj, that was the greatest gift of all. As the months passed, the ripple effect of Arjun's story continued to grow. The ripple effect had become more than just a book, it had turned into a movement. People from all walks of life were inspired to share their own stories of kindness, and Raj found himself at the center of it all. He was grateful for the opportunity to make a difference, but he also felt the weight of responsibility. He wanted to ensure that the message stayed true to its roots, simple, human, and heartfelt. One day, Raj received an invitation that would take the story to an even larger stage. A global organization dedicated to promoting kindness and empathy wanted to host a conference, and they wanted Raj and Arjun to be the keynote speakers. The event would bring together people from all over the world, and it would be a chance to spread the message of the ripple effect on an international scale. Raj was excited but also nervous. He knew this was a huge opportunity, but he also knew that Arjun might not be comfortable with such a large audience. When he approached Arjun with the idea, he was surprised by his response. "If it will help spread the message, then I'll do it," Arjun said. "But I want to keep it simple. No grand speeches, just the truth." Raj agreed, and together, they began to prepare for the conference. As the day approached, Raj found himself reflecting on everything that had happened since he had first met Arjun. What had started as a personal journey to thank the man who had saved his life had turned into something much bigger. It was no longer just about him or Arjun, it was about the countless lives that had been touched by their story. When they arrived at the conference, they were greeted by a sea of faces from all over the world. There were teachers, students, activists, and everyday people who had been inspired by the ripple effect. The atmosphere was electric, filled with a sense of hope and possibility. When it was their turn to speak, Raj and Arjun took the stage together. Raj began by sharing his story, the night on the bridge, the stranger who had saved his life, and the journey that had led him to this moment. He spoke about the importance of kindness, not just in big moments, but in everyday life. "It's not about being a hero," he said. "It's about being human. It's about showing up, even when it's hard, and doing what you can to make the world a little better." Then it was Arjun's turn. He stepped forward, his quiet presence commanding the attention of the entire room. He spoke softly but powerfully, his words resonating with everyone who listened. "I didn't set out to change the world," he said. "I just tried to do what I could, when I could. And that's all any of us can do. We don't have to be perfect. We just have to be kind." The audience was captivated by Arjun's words, and when he finished, the room erupted into applause. People were moved to tears, inspired by the simplicity and truth of his message. After the speech, Raj and Arjun were surrounded by people who wanted to thank them, share their own stories, and ask for advice. It was overwhelming, but also deeply fulfilling. One of the most memorable moments of the conference came when a young woman named Ananya approached them. She had traveled from a remote village to attend the event, and she had a story to share. Ananya told them about a teacher in her village who had inspired her to pursue her education, despite the many obstacles she faced. "Your story reminded me of her," she said. "She may not have saved a life, but she changed mine. And now, I want to do the same for others." Raj and Arjun were deeply moved by Ananya's story. It was a powerful reminder that kindness wasn't just about grand gestures, it was about the small, everyday acts that could change someone's life. They spent time talking with Ananya, encouraging her and offering advice. Before she left, Arjun gave her a small book from his collection. "Keep going," he said. "The world needs more people like you." As the conference came to an end, Raj and Arjun returned home, exhausted but fulfilled. They had shared their story with the world, and it had touched countless lives. But for Raj, the most important thing was the bond he had formed with Arjun. What had started as a search for the man who had saved his life had turned into a deep, meaningful friendship. In the weeks that followed, Raj continued to receive letters and emails from people who had been inspired by the ripple effect. Each story was a reminder of the power of kindness, and Raj felt a renewed sense of purpose. He knew that he had found not just the man who had saved his life, but also a mentor, a friend, and a source of inspiration. One evening, as Raj sat with Arjun in his small living room, he decided to share something he had been thinking about for a long time. "I want to do more," he said. "I want to create a foundation, something that can continue to spread the message of kindness, even after we're gone." Arjun looked at Raj, his eyes filled with pride. "That's a wonderful idea," he said. "But remember, it's not about the foundation. It's about the people. It's about the lives you touch." Raj nodded, feeling a deep sense of clarity. He knew that Arjun was right. The foundation would be a tool, but the real work would be in the everyday acts of kindness that it inspired. He began to make plans, reaching out to people who could help bring the idea to life. As the foundation took shape, Raj felt a sense of fulfillment he had never known before. He knew that he was honoring the man who had saved his life, but he was also honoring the values that Arjun had taught him: kindness, humility, and the importance of giving back. And as he looked back on his journey, from that cold, rainy night on the bridge to the warm, quiet evenings in Arjun's living room, Raj knew that he had found something precious. He had found not just the man who had saved his life, but also a deeper understanding of what it meant to truly live. And for that, he would always be grateful. The foundation, which they named the Ripple Effect Foundation, quickly gained momentum. It focused on promoting kindness and empathy through education, community projects, and storytelling. Raj and Arjun traveled to schools, villages, and cities, sharing their message and inspiring others to be kind. One of the foundation's first projects was to create a network of kindness ambassadors, people who were committed to spreading kindness in their communities. These ambassadors came from all walks of life, but they shared a common goal: to make the world a better place, one small act of kindness at a time. As the foundation grew, so did its impact. Stories of kindness began to pour in from all over the world, each one a testament to the power of the ripple effect. Raj and Arjun knew that they were just two people, but they also knew that their message had the power to inspire millions. And as they continued their work, they remained grounded in the values that had brought them together in the first place. They knew that the true power of kindness wasn't in the big moments, but in the small, everyday acts that could change someone's life. And for Raj and Arjun, that was the greatest gift of all. The Ripple Effect Foundation grew faster than Raj or Arjun could have imagined. What had started as a small initiative to promote kindness had turned into a global movement. People from all corners of the world were inspired by the stories shared through the foundation, and the network of kindness ambassadors expanded to include thousands of individuals committed to making a difference in their communities. Raj and Arjun found themselves traveling more than ever, speaking at schools, community centers, and even international events. But no matter how busy they became, they always made time to sit together in the evenings, reflecting on the day and sharing stories. One evening, after a particularly long day of meetings and speeches, Raj turned to Arjun and said, "Do you ever think about how far we've come? It's amazing to see how many people are inspired by your story." Arjun smiled softly, his eyes distant. "It's not my story anymore," he said. "It's everyone's story. It's about the people who choose to be kind, even when it's hard. That's what matters." Raj nodded, but he couldn't shake the feeling that Arjun was being too modest. "You started this," he said. "Without you, none of this would have happened." Arjun shook his head. "No, Raj. You started this. You were the one who looked for me, who shared my story, who built this foundation. I just planted a seed. You're the one who helped it grow." The conversation stayed with Raj long after they had parted ways for the night. He realized that Arjun was right. The foundation wasn't about one person or one story. It was about the collective power of kindness, the way small actions could come together to create something much bigger. As the foundation continued to grow, Raj and Arjun began to focus on specific projects that could have a lasting impact. One of their most ambitious initiatives was the Kindness Schools program, which aimed to teach children the value of empathy and compassion from a young age. The program provided resources, training, and support to schools, helping them create environments where kindness was celebrated and encouraged. The first kindness school was opened in a small village, not far from where Arjun had once taught. The children there came from humble backgrounds, many of them facing challenges that made it difficult to focus on their education. But the program gave them hope. Through activities, stories, and community projects, the children learned that even small acts of kindness could make a big difference. Raj and Arjun visited the school often, spending time with the children and listening to their stories. One day, a young boy named Rohan approached them, holding a drawing he had made. It was a picture of two men standing by a river, with a bridge in the background. "This is you," Rohan said, pointing to Arjun. "And this is you," he added, pointing to Raj. "You saved each other, and now you're saving us." Raj felt a lump in his throat as he looked at the drawing. He realized that the ripple effect wasn't just about the past, it was about the future. It was about the children like Rohan, who would grow up knowing the power of kindness and carry it forward into the world. As the Kindness Schools program expanded, Raj and Arjun began to see the impact it was having. Teachers reported that the children were more empathetic, more willing to help each other, and more confident in themselves. Parents noticed changes too, with many saying that their children were bringing the lessons of kindness home, creating a positive ripple effect in their families. But the foundation's work wasn't limited to schools. They also launched community projects, such as Kindness Kitchens, which provided meals to those in need, and Kindness Corners, small spaces in public areas where people could leave notes of encouragement or small gifts for strangers. These projects were simple, but they had a profound impact, reminding people that kindness was something they could practice every day. One of the most touching moments came when Raj received a letter from an elderly woman named Meera. She had been living alone for many years, feeling isolated and forgotten. But one day, she found a note in a kindness corner that read, "You are loved. You are not alone." The note had been left by a stranger, but it had changed Meera's life. She wrote, "That small piece of paper reminded me that there is still goodness in the world. It gave me hope." Raj shared Meera's letter with Arjun, and they both felt a deep sense of fulfillment. They knew that the foundation was making a difference, not just in big ways, but in the small, everyday moments that often went unnoticed. As the years passed, Raj and Arjun's friendship grew stronger. They had become more than just mentor and student, they were partners, united by a shared mission. But as they grew older, they also began to think about the future. Raj knew that Arjun wouldn't be around forever, and he wanted to ensure that the foundation would continue to thrive, even after they were gone. One evening, as they sat together in Arjun's garden, Raj brought up the topic. "I've been thinking about the future," he said. "About what happens next. I want to make sure the foundation continues to grow, even when we're not here to lead it." Arjun nodded, his expression thoughtful. "The foundation is strong," he said. "It's not about us anymore. It's about the people who believe in the message. They'll carry it forward." Raj knew that Arjun was right, but he also felt a sense of responsibility. He wanted to create a structure that would ensure the foundation's longevity, something that would allow it to continue making a difference for generations to come. Together, they began to make plans. They established a board of directors, bringing in people from diverse backgrounds who shared their vision. They also created a mentorship program, training young leaders to take on leadership roles within the foundation. It was a lot of work, but Raj felt a sense of peace knowing that the foundation was in good hands. As they worked on these plans, Raj couldn't help but reflect on how far they had come. What had started as a personal journey to thank the man who had saved his life had turned into a global movement, touching countless lives in ways he could never have imagined. And through it all, Arjun had been his guiding light, reminding him of the importance of humility, kindness, and staying true to one's values. One day, as they were reviewing the foundation's plans, Arjun turned to Raj and said, "You've done well, Raj. I'm proud of you. Raj felt a surge of emotion. Those words meant more to him than any accolade or achievement. I couldn't have done it without you, he said. You saved my life, and then you showed me how to live it. Arjun smiled, his eyes filled with warmth. You saved yourself, Raj. I just gave you a little push. As they sat together in the quiet of the garden, Raj realized that the true power of the ripple effect wasn't just in the lives they had touched, it was in the way it had transformed his own life. He had found purpose, friendship, and a deeper understanding of what it meant to truly live. And for that, he would always be grateful. Years passed, and the Ripple Effect Foundation continued to grow, becoming a beacon of hope and kindness in a world that often felt divided. Raj and Arjun, now older but still deeply committed to their mission, watched with pride as the foundation's impact reached new heights. The Kindness Schools program had expanded to hundreds of schools, the Kindness Kitchens fed thousands of people every day, and the Kindness Corners had become a familiar sight in cities and towns around the world. The foundation's message was simple but powerful: kindness matters, and it starts with each of us. But as time went on, Raj began to notice that Arjun was slowing down. His steps were a little slower, his energy a little lower. Though his spirit remained as strong as ever, it was clear that age was catching up with him. Raj tried not to think about it too much, but he couldn't ignore the reality that their time together was limited. One evening, as they sat together in Arjun's garden, watching the sun set, Arjun turned to Raj and said, "I've been thinking about the future. About what happens when I'm no longer here." Raj felt a pang in his chest. He had been dreading this conversation, but he knew it was important. "The foundation will continue," he said firmly. "We've built something strong, something that will last. Your legacy will live on." Arjun smiled, his eyes filled with a quiet wisdom. "It's not about legacy, Raj. It's about the people. The foundation is just a tool. The real work happens in the hearts of those who choose to be kind. That's what matters." Raj nodded, but he couldn't shake the sadness he felt. He had come to rely on Arjun's guidance, his calm presence, and his unwavering belief in the power of kindness. The thought of losing him was almost too much to bear. Arjun seemed to sense his thoughts. "You don't need me anymore, Raj," he said gently. "You've learned everything you need to know. You've become the teacher now." Raj looked at Arjun, his eyes filling with tears. "I'll never stop needing you," he said. "You've been more than a mentor to me. You've been a friend, a father, a guiding light. I don't know how to do this without you." Arjun placed a hand on Raj's shoulder, his touch warm and reassuring. "You already are," he said. "You've been leading the foundation for years. You've inspired countless people. You've made a difference. And you'll continue to do so, long after I'm gone." The words were comforting, but they didn't ease the ache in Raj's heart. He knew that Arjun was right, the foundation was strong, and its message would continue to spread. But he also knew that nothing would ever fill the void that Arjun would leave behind. In the months that followed, Raj and Arjun spent as much time together as they could. They visited kindness schools, met with kindness ambassadors, and shared their story at events. But they also made time for quiet moments, sitting in the garden, sipping tea, and reflecting on their journey. Those moments became precious to Raj, a reminder of the bond they had formed and the lessons they had learned together. One day, as they were preparing for a small event at a local school, Arjun turned to Raj and said, "I want to tell you something. Something important." Raj looked at him, curious. "What is it?" Arjun took a deep breath, his expression serious. "I've lived a good life," he said. "I've done what I could to help others, and I've seen the impact of kindness in ways I never imagined. But the greatest gift I've received is you. You've given my life meaning, Raj. You've made it all worthwhile." Raj felt tears welling up in his eyes. You've given me everything, he said. You saved my life, and then you showed me how to live it. I wouldn't be who I am without you. Arjun smiled, his eyes shining with emotion. You've always had it in you, Raj. I just helped you see it. The event at the school was a small one, but it was deeply meaningful. The children had prepared a performance, singing songs about kindness and sharing stories of how the Ripple Effect Foundation had touched their lives. As Raj and Arjun watched, they felt a sense of pride and fulfillment. This was what it was all about, the next generation, carrying the message forward. After the performance, the children gathered around Raj and Arjun, asking questions and sharing their dreams. One little girl, her eyes wide with curiosity, asked Arjun, "Why did you start the foundation?" Arjun knelt down to her level, his voice gentle. "I didn't start it," he said. "Raj did. But the reason we do it is because we believe that kindness can change the world. And it starts with people like you." The girl smiled, her face lighting up. "I want to be kind too," she said. "I want to help people, just like you." Arjun placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then you already are," he said. "Kindness isn't about big things. It's about small things, smiling at someone, helping a friend, saying thank you. Those are the things that make a difference." As they left the school that day, Raj felt a deep sense of peace. He knew that Arjun's time was limited, but he also knew that his legacy would live on, not just in the foundation, but in the hearts of the people they had touched. A few weeks later, Arjun passed away peacefully in his sleep. Raj was heartbroken, but he also felt a sense of gratitude. He had been given the gift of knowing Arjun, of learning from him, and of sharing his message with the world. And he knew that Arjun's spirit would always be with him, guiding him and reminding him of the power of kindness. In the years that followed, Raj continued to lead the Ripple Effect Foundation, but he also took on a new role, mentor. He began to train the next generation of leaders, sharing the lessons he had learned from Arjun and inspiring them to carry the message forward. He often thought about Arjun's words, "It's not about legacy. It's about the people." And as he watched the foundation grow, touching more lives than he could have ever imagined, Raj knew that Arjun had been right. The true power of kindness wasn't in the big moments, it was in the small, everyday acts that created a ripple effect, spreading hope and love throughout the world. One evening, as Raj sat in Arjun's garden, now his own, he looked up at the stars and smiled. "Thank you, Arjun," he whispered. "For everything." And in that moment, he felt a sense of peace, knowing that the ripple effect would continue, touching lives for generations to come. Because kindness, once set in motion, never truly ends.